Seneca ran an empire's finances while writing philosophy that outlasted it. He built this framework not for monks, but for operators who needed clarity under pressure. Modern neuroscience now confirms his techniques reduce anxiety and sharpen prefrontal control. 3 specific principles form the core, and they take 15 minutes to practice. The result is not calm for calm's sake, but a tactical advantage in decision-making. 1. The dichotomy of control. This is the first principle, and the Stoics call it the dichotomy of control. Some things are in our power, including our opinions, our choices, our responses, and our values. Other things are not, including our body, our reputation, our possessions, and what other people do. Seneca applied this filter every day because he ran a court where every day brought chaos he could not direct, and he needed a way to protect his attention. The filter was not resignation. It was the most extreme form of personal agency available to him. Most professionals today do the opposite, burning their best cognitive hours, worrying about outcomes they can't steer like a competitor's move, a market shift, or a client's mood. These aren't in your control, yet they consume the same mental fuel you need for the decisions that actually are. The dichotomy of control isn't a theory. It's a tool for protecting your limited attention from infinite distractions. The neuroscience backs this up because Stoic techniques map directly onto cognitive reappraisal, which is the prefrontal cortex stepping in to regulate the amygdala when threat responses fire. Researchers at Birkbeck ran Stoic-style training with people at risk for anxiety, and the result was an 18% reduction in rumination for one group and 13% for another. The training produced less looping and more clarity. Once you stop feeding uncontrollable outcomes with your attention, your brain stops treating them like active threats. Here is the practice. Before your next high-stakes call or negotiation, name one thing that is fully under your control in that room, because you shouldn't track the outcome or the other person's reaction. Track only your preparation, your tone, and your next sentence, since that's where your attention belongs and everything else is weather. You don't need to be calm. You need to direct your fuel to the one lever you can pull, because the practice is simple and the effect is immediate. This filter clears the noise, but it doesn't create urgency, which is why the second principle is what makes time feel expensive. 2. Memento Mori. This is the second principle, and the Stoics call it Memento Mori. It doesn't mean obsessing about death. It means remembering that your time is already passing. And Seneca viewed death not as a distant event, but as a process that is happening now. He said the time that passes already belongs to death. This is not a dark thought. It's a clarity tool. You don't need to fear the end, but you need to respect the fact that your hours are countable and already in motion. Most ambitious people operate as if they have infinite future days to fix their mistakes, which produces hesitation on hard decisions. You delay the conversation, the switch, the cut, because you assume the window stays open, but it doesn't. Memento Mori closes the gap between knowing what to do and doing it. So you stop treating tomorrow as a backup plan and start treating today as the only plan you can trust. The cost of waiting is not just time, but the erosion of your own clarity. Seneca lived this principle. He was exiled twice and nearly died by Caligula's order. Later, Nero ordered him to kill himself, and when the goons arrived, he had already rehearsed the moment. He didn't panic because he had never assumed he had unlimited time. The modern application is simple. Treat your next significant decision as if your window to make it is smaller than you think, because you aren't being pessimistic. You are being accurate. Time isn't an unlimited resource you can waste and then catch up. It's a fixed asset that is already being spent. This is not morbid. It's architectural. The first 2 principles filter noise and create urgency, but the third principle is where most people misunderstand Stoicism completely. And it's exactly where the real leverage lives. 3. Amor Fati. This is the third principle, and the Stoics call it Amor Fati, which means love of fate. It is not passive acceptance. It means the active embrace of whatever happens. So you don't wait for events to align with your plan. You work with them as they are. And this is the most counterintuitive move in the entire system. Most ambitious professionals are trained to fight obstacles. They see a problem and immediately try to remove it. But this principle says the obstacle is the path. You use it, and you don't waste energy trying to erase it, because the energy you save is what you redirect elsewhere. Seneca proved this during his exile. He was banished to Corsica, a rock in the Mediterranean, stripped of his position, his friends, and his city, but he didn't write despite the exile. He wrote because of it, and his letters from that period became his most important work. The distractions were gone. The stakes were real. The advice he gave was tested by his own suffering, not imagined. Modern business has a direct parallel. In 2022, Arseny Lebedev was running original games from Russia when the war began, and he didn't control the geopolitics or the sanctions or the market reaction. But he controlled his response. He relocated the company to Portugal, focused on employee stability, and kept building. That is Amor Fati in practice. This isn't resignation. Instead, it is the most extreme form of agency a leader under pressure can use. The neuroscience supports this too, because distancing and perspective-taking reliably reduce bilateral amygdala activation during emotion regulation. When you stop fighting the event and start working with it, your prefrontal cortex takes back the wheel. You aren't reacting. You are choosing your response instead of letting the event choose it for you. The brain treats the obstacle differently when you decide to use it. Here is how you apply it. When a deal falls through, a market shifts, or a competitor moves, don't ask why this happened to you. Ask what this situation now makes possible, because the question reframes the obstacle from a wall into a door. That isn't optimism. It's structural thinking that turns the obstacle into a door you can walk through. These three principles build the architecture, but architecture without a daily practice is just theory. Seneca didn't just hold these principles in his head. He applied them every morning and every night until they became his default operating system. 4. The morning protocol. This is the 15-minute implementation. Seneca didn't just think about these principles. He applied them before the world demanded his attention, and you can do the same before you open your laptop. You don't need a monastery. You need a structure that protects your attention before the notifications start. The first step is anticipation. Anticipate the day's likely difficulty and name one specific obstacle, one specific conflict, or one specific setback you might face. Don't vague wave at the day. Instead, pick one real thing that could actually happen, because the more specific you are, the more useful the rehearsal becomes. The second step is rehearsal. Rehearse your response through the filter. Ask what is under your control in that situation, and then ask what isn't under your control. You must pre-commit to directing your attention only to the part you can move, leaving the rest outside the room. The third step is urgency. Attach mortality weight to the decision. Ask yourself if this day were one of your last, would this decision still matter? And ask if you would still hesitate. You have to pre-commit to moving before the window closes. Mortality isn't a dark thought here, but a deadline that forces clarity. The fourth step is acceptance. Embrace Amor Fati. Whatever happens, you'll work with it, and you won't fight the obstacle. Instead, you'll use it as the path forward. You don't need to feel good about the setback. You need to stop burning fuel resisting it, because the obstacle isn't a detour. It's the route. The modern evidence supports this structure. A 2-week online Stoic training program produced significantly lower experiential avoidance and reduced anxiety at follow-up compared with people who didn't train. The practice doesn't require an hour of journaling. It requires 5 minutes of structured rehearsal before you check your email, because 5 minutes of preloading your mind is worth more than 60 minutes of reactive cleanup after the day goes wrong. The return isn't linear. It's structural, which means you don't need more time. You need better preloading. 5. The evening audit. Seneca ran a second practice every night, and he called it the evening review. He went through what he had done and said, and he examined his behavior after the day ended. This isn't a gratitude journal, but a private moral tribunal where you ask 3 questions. The first is what you did well today. The second is where you failed. The third is what you should do differently tomorrow, and you aren't collecting wins. You're catching errors before they become habits. Most professionals review their calendar. They check what they scheduled and what they completed, but they don't review their decisions. They optimize their schedule and ignore their judgment. This is why one error repeats again and again. The calendar gets better while the thinking stays the same. The specific application is direct. Check if you burned attention on an uncontrollable outcome today, and check if you hesitated on a decision because you assumed you had infinite time. Check if you fought an obstacle instead of using it, and then name one failure and give one fix you'll test tomorrow. You aren't there to solve everything, and you have to plug one leak. The time requirement is 5 minutes. You don't need some elaborate template or a scoring system. You need 3 questions and 1 honest answer for each. The purpose isn't to feel good. You are there to catch the same error before it becomes automatic. The compounding effect is what matters. One evening audit doesn't change your life, but 50 evening audits will change your default responses. You stop making the same mistake in different clothes. Instead, you start seeing the pattern before it runs. The same stimulus arrives, and your response is different. That's the leverage. This is the full system. You get 3 principles and 2 practices in 15 minutes. The question isn't whether you have time for it. The real question is whether you can afford to operate without it. Emotional control isn't a soft skill. It's a structural advantage in every decision you make, and it compounds over time. Next week, the channel breaks down how Ray Dalio built radical transparency at Bridgewater using the same Stoic logic. If you want the playbook before your competitors get it, subscribe. I break down these frameworks every week. I distill the psychology, habits, and mental models of the world's highest performers into tools you can use.